I'm back today with the series you all love, the horror series. So, get ready for some scares tonight, because I'm going to creep you out just like always. As I said at the start, we love you all, and I want to tell you that the stories I'm sharing today actually happened to real people. These terrifying tales come from the amazing teacher, Suaim Almateri Alanzi, and we owe her a huge thanks for these incredible stories. Now let's dive in. First story. The farm gathering this story comes from a woman who says, "My mom worked at a place where the owner also had a farm. She worked at a cafe, and the cafe owner would gather the cafe's male employees at his farm once a week, like a fun recreational day. Only the guys went, and it was always on Wednesdays, so they called it Arbaya, Wednesday gathering. They'd hang out from the afternoon until dawn. As I mentioned, the owner only invited the guys to the farm every Wednesday. One day, my mom and the other female employees went to the manager and said, 'What about us girls? Can we go on another day, like Friday or Saturday?' At first, he was hesitant, but the girls kept insisting until he finally agreed. He designated Saturdays for the women to have their own farm gathering. On the first Saturday, the owner was there and told my mom and the other women, 'This is your farm for the day. Enjoy yourselves. Do whatever you want. But listen, no music. The place is enclosed, and the echo carries, so we don't want to disturb the neighbors. I don't want any complaints. Also, stay away from the barn and the stable.' He gave his instructions and left. That day, it was just the women, and some brought their daughters along, like my mom brought me. We were having a great time, chatting, drinking coffee, a real girls' gathering, and everyone was happy. Suddenly, one of the women said, 'Let's play some music and have fun. Things are heating up, and we need some tunes to liven the mood. We're just girls here. Let's enjoy ourselves.' Another woman quickly responded, 'Didn't you hear what the owner said? And besides, we don't even have speakers.' But the first woman was ready. She pulled out a small speaker she'd brought and insisted, 'We'll keep the volume low, just enough to set the vibe.' Everyone was having fun, except my mom. She was sitting quietly, and I noticed something was off. I went to her and said, 'What's wrong, Mom? What's going on?' She immediately replied, 'We need to leave this place right now. I don't want to stay here.' She grabbed my hand, and we left the farm without even saying goodbye to her friends or explaining anything. When we got home, she told me everything. She said that while we were dancing, she saw terrifying figures among us, shapes that were beyond comprehension. She described one figure with a distorted face, saying it was standing right there with us. I told her, I didn't see anything. But she swore, 'I swear to God I saw it. There was a figure among you girls, one of your friend's sisters, and it was strange. While you were all dancing, her dress was moving in a creepy way. Their faces were so terrifying when they smiled. It was like their mouths were tearing apart. What scared me the most was when I saw you eating cake. You were eating it with hair in it. Thank God we left the farm quickly without even talking to the others. That's when I understood why the manager told us not to play music. It wasn't about disturbing the neighbors. There were no neighbors around the farm. I think he meant the jinn, spirits. After that, when my mom went back to work, one of her co-workers who was at the gathering fell seriously ill. She was so sick she couldn't move for months. That's the first story. Second story. The dangerous friend. This story comes from another woman who begins by warning, "Be careful of bad friends and anyone who leads you to sin." She says her story started when her sister's friend, who was also her friend, came to her one day and said, "Let's go to a woman who reads coffee cups. I know someone who's amazing and gets everything right." I listened to her and went along. The woman was like any typical fraud. She gave vague predictions that could apply to anyone. But then she told me something shocking. Someone close to you, maybe family, has put a spell on you to ruin your marriage prospects and block your livelihood. Her words hit me hard because at that time, I was struggling. Every job I applied for rejected me without reason. I was in a relationship with a man who'd proposed to me with my family's approval. He seemed perfect and ready for marriage. But every time my family brought up the wedding, he'd dodge the topic with strange excuses, ghost me for a while, then come back with the same nonsense. The coffee reader gave me some Quranic verses and told me to read them, saying, "You'll get a sign in a dream pointing to the person who cursed you. When you do, come back, and I'll help you break the spell." Of course, she asked for a lot of money, which I couldn't afford at the time. I left with my friend and ignored the whole thing. I didn't read the verses because I was terrified of what I might see in my dreams. What shocked me most was the idea that someone close to me could hate me enough to curse me. Later, the same friend led me to a so-called sheikh who dealt with magic and jinn. She connected me to him through a group phone call, and he told me things about my life that no one else could know, private sins that were just between me and God. I was stunned, wondering how he knew. He offered to help me with a treatment for a price. That's when my suffering began. The treatment involved a sweet-smelling substance I had to bathe in. The water that ran off my body wasn't supposed to go down the drain. I had to collect it and throw it in a field or a street. I did everything he said, encouraged by my friend. The first 2 nights were fine, but on the 3rd night, things took a dark turn. After I went to bed, I felt someone pull the blanket off me. I was half asleep, but aware, like I could see my room with my eyes closed. One night, I felt myself lift off the bed, floating high in the air. When I snapped awake, I crashed back onto the bed with force. I screamed, waking my mom and sister. Nightmares plagued me every night. Dark figures appeared in my room. I became so terrified that I couldn't sleep without playing Islamic recitations. Ruqya. Thank God, I started praying regularly and reading the Quran, and things got better. The nightmares lessened, though they haven't fully stopped. My advice: stay away from anyone who leads you to sin. The devil preys on moments of weakness. Third story. The mysterious bed in Mecca. This story comes from a woman from Bahrain. In 1997, when she was 16, she fell ill with no clear diagnosis. She suffered from severe headaches, fainting spells, and exhaustion. Her family took her to many specialists in Bahrain, but no one could figure out what was wrong. Some said there was nothing wrong at all. One day, they took her to the Saudi-German hospital in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, to see a foreign specialist who might have answers. They went for appointments, and after finishing, they decided to visit Mecca for Umrah, a minor pilgrimage, since they were already in Saudi Arabia. They arrived in Mecca before the Isha prayer and had to return to Jeddah before far. After completing their Umrah, she was exhausted, dizzy, and in pain. While in the Haram, the Grand Mosque, a man approached her father and started talking. Apparently, her father mentioned her condition and their hospital visits. The man offered them a place to stay near the Haram for a small fee, saying, "Why stay out here for so long? Come rest at my place." Her father saw how tired she was and agreed. The place was very close to the Haram, but it was old and a bit creepy, especially since this was before the modern expansions. The room was small with a simple bed. Exhausted, she collapsed onto the first bed she saw and fell asleep instantly. She says it was the most comfortable bed she'd ever slept in. Soft blankets, a perfect pillow. She thought, who would expect a place like this to have such amazing bedding? That night, she had the best sleep of her life. The shocking part came at far when they woke up to pray at the Haram. The bed she'd slept on was hard, made of old metal. The pillow was stiff, and the blanket was more like a rough rug. She and her family were stunned, wondering where the soft bedding had gone. Her mother suggested, when you are that exhausted, even the floor feels comfortable. Here's the strange part. After that night, her fainting spells and headaches vanished completely. No treatments, no medication, just gone. 25 years later, at age 41, she's traveled the world and slept in countless hotel beds, but none have ever matched the comfort of that mysterious bed. She can't explain what happened, but remains grateful for her health and recovery.